folks. You're listening to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast, joined by your usual hosts, Josh Hartley and Ben Porter.
Are you going back to the usual
format? But this is being released before the episode with Bez.
So it's just going to mess with people's heads.
You've messed with the timeline.
Oh, spoilers!
We have to...
Damn it.
There's only one thing we have to do. We have to go back.
Okay.
Hello guys, you're listening to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You're joined by me, Josh Hartley, and my co-host Ben Porter. Ben, how are you doing?
Doing good. We've been stuck in the house.
Yeah,
in the past few days.
Been a bit of snow in Glasgow.
To quote yourself, a light dusting.
It's I have not seen snow like this in the UK. Now, it's been like... Because I was reading, there's some places just outside Glasgow that got nearly half a metre.
Yep.
And our American listeners are probably thinking, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Or to us Brits,
yeah,
that's pretty nasty.
So our government has no preventative measures in place for snow.
No.
So when we get anything more than a light dusting, it causes chaos.
Yeah. So I haven't been able to get into work for a couple of days. We just got into the office today, as of this recording. And, well, I mean, the office was chaos as well because, you know, we've had a day. Yeah, we've had a day and a half where nothing's been done. You haven't been working.
No, I was working at the beginning of the week before this all hit. Was supposed to be doing admin this week. Couldn't even do that. No. Because all the wholesalers are shut, so I can't get prices.
Mm-hmm. And Charlotte couldn't get into work either, so, you know, there was only one thing for it.
Board games!
Play games!
Hey!
Yay!
Yeah.
Before we get onto that, though, we've got a little bit of housekeeping.
Yeah.
We had our competition finish last weekend.
We did. This is our second giveaway.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So, Dylan Wyatt, you are the lucky recipient of a copy of Shadespire. So that is winging its way to you right now, actually. I believe it has been dispatched. So give us a shout when you get that and post us the photos and everything. But congratulations, Dylan Wyatt, from America as well.
Yep, Indiana, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So he will be one of the listeners who's thinking, that's nothing when we're moaning about a meagre half metre of snow.
Yeah.
A meagre half metre.
He's probably disgusted.
Yeah.
That we're moaning about that.
I mean, hopefully the fact that we're giving him free stuff will
mitigate
it to some degree.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I hope so.
Yes. But, so, while we've been stuck in the snow, what have we been playing then?
Well, we mentioned in the last episode that we've been playing Pandemic Legacy. So we played a few more installments of that. And I bought Sushi Go Party.
Yes.
At Glasgow Games Festival. At the tail end of last year. And we finally gave that a go.
Yes.
And I already really like Sushi Go.
Mm-hmm.
Sushi Go Party is just amazing.
Really good. It kind of exactly what you want from a sequel to a board game, right?
Yeah.
They kept the core mechanics, so it's true to the original. They've just added extra bits of complexity, which is fine. That's what you want. But it's all bolt-on. It's really clever design, actually.
I think in terms of slickness and design, it trumps Fog of Love.
Yeah. And the thing that got Charlotte most excited was the insert.
Yeah.
The box insert was a thing of beauty.
But this is what's really clever. So the you have a board now, which you didn't have before.
Yeah.
And round the outside you have a scoring track, which is actually the conveyor belt like you get in most sushi restaurants.
And what are the counters, Ben?
The counters are soy bottles.
It's just brilliant.
It is.
Simply marvellous.
And in the centre portion of the board, you have like a box for appetizer, main course, dessert.
Your menu. Yeah.
And it's the menu, and what you do is you have little cards that you sit into those things, and they are prompts that tell you what you score from each component in the game. It's this is how you build the deck that you're going to play with, and you can swap these things in and out, and the little cards that you use on the menu have the names of each card at the top, so you can use them
As
to
a tab.
index all of your cards in the box.
My God, it's brilliant. We had to remind Charlotte that the game was not organising everything.
No.
And that it was, in fact, playing the game.
Yeah.
But we really enjoyed Sushi Go. Probably a good palate cleanser after Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to get different opinions on Pandemic Legacy. 'Cause
So-
I love it.
But at the same time, I think I maybe foresaw this slightly because you love the base game, Pandemic.
Yes.
Whereas for me, I'm like, it's all right.
Yeah.
But I think it's maybe because it's a bit too no frills for me. I think that's maybe why I'm not as enthusiastic about Pandemic as other people.
How do you mean, like, the setting? Or...
It's just like real life.
Yeah, but that's why it's
Where's
good.
Where's the escapism?
It's not escapism.
I know.
It's horrible reality.
This is why I hate Call of Duty, because it's like playing the news.
Playing the news is probably more horrifying than any like film or like fantasy setting, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. How's that for your deep thought for the evening? So,
Got all the listeners feeling suicidal. Thanks for that, Josh. But I mean, just to pick up on the Call of Duty comment, I don't hate Pandemic.
no.
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just not as enthusiastic about it as other people are. I think it's a very clever piece of game design. I do, however, think that it lends itself better to the Legacy format.
Yes, we were saying this last time. And we do like the way that every decision, it feels like it matters, right?
Yeah.
But I think your issue with Pandemic Legacy is sort of the seesaw between like winning and losing.
Yeah, I don't. So for anyone that doesn't know, that this isn't a spoiler. Whenever you successfully complete an episode, they call them months, but they're episodes.
Yeah.
Whenever you complete an episode successfully in Pandemic Legacy, you take away 2 funded events.
Funded events being like bonus cards that are in the deck that help you. You know, it can be something like move a pawn anywhere on the board.
Like a perk, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously having less of them makes the game harder, and if you start losing, you gain 2 and makes it easier.
So it's a clever mechanic to have the level of challenge scale to the ability of the player. I just feel that the way that it's been done is a little bit ham-fisted, because to use your phrase, I feel as though we're seesawing between 2 quite divergent difficulty levels. Like when we have the 4 funded events, you know, we're able to manage things pretty well, and then they take 2 away when we succeed, and then we tank, and it feels as though we're swinging a lot between those 2. And it makes for quite a tedious experience, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that might be because we played a lot of it in a relatively short space of time, though. We got through 4 games in 2 days. I
don't think it's designed to be played intensively, in fairness to them. But it's just something that I've noticed. And to bring a sense of balance to that statement, a lot of people are going to play multiple sessions on the trot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So you can't. To me, that's not an excuse that it's not designed to be played like that.
I wasn't trying to present it as an excuse. It was
but it's the kind of excuse you can imagine a designer trying to pass off, and it's like, well, you know, you have incentivized the game towards people playing multiple sessions in a row.
Yeah.
Because people want to know what they're going to get next month.
Yes. That's true. That's true. You've got the opening the boxes. She's probably the most excited I get all game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, one thing that I've noted, though, I think the degree to how much you enjoy Pandemic can also depend on the degree to which you are okay with losing. Because you lose a lot when you play Pandemic. And when you lose... when you lose a lot, some people can get very frustrated. And certainly by the time we finished that fourth game, and we lost a couple of games on the trot...
Yeah.
I had a sense from both you and Charlotte, like, okay, this is enough for now.
I mean, I do play a lot of quite hard games where it's the players versus the deck, or the players versus the computer. So losing doesn't really bother me. Mm-hmm. I quite like an element of challenge, and I quite like games that set a problem for the players, and they have to work together to solve that. For me, the frustration doesn't arise from the losing; it arises from that monotonous pace.
Yeah. As
a result of the what I believe is quite poorly scaled.
Okay.
Sliding difficulty.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, I'm still really enjoying it.
Oh no, I'm still enjoying it, but it's just something that bothers me. But I guess I should maybe talk about some of the things that I like about the game to bring a sense of balance.
I mean, you can do.
Yeah. I like the scar system.
Yes, where your characters can be upgraded throughout the course of the campaign, but they can also get downgraded by bad events happening to them.
So scars aren't necessarily like a physical defect. Sometimes it's trauma. Without spoiling too much, there's a scar that basically stops your character from entering certain cities.
Yeah.
You can take 2 scars. If you take a third, that character dies.
Yeah.
So it's emphasizing that sense of there's something at stake here.
Yes.
When your characters can die. But it's not too brutal where if something bad happens to them, they're dead. That's it. You do have a bit of a chance to, and then for people that are that way inclined, there's the role playing element.
Yeah. Well, one of my favourite moments throughout the whole thing that we've been playing is some of the sort of awkward decisions that you have to make. And we had Charlotte just saying, "Guys, I don't mind being sacrificed if it means we win." But I'm still, because I'm uncomfortable with that even in a game. So I'm sat there racking my brain, just going, no, there's got to be a way that we can do both.
It's like the classic disaster movie dilemma. Yeah. It's like the bit in Armageddon.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we know how to fix this, but someone has to stay behind to detonate it.
Yep.
And you're like, shit.
Yep.
we know how we can solve this problem, but someone is probably going to die in order to do it. And that's the problem you can have with the base game of Pandemic is that you can just lose and that's it. Whereas you form attachments to these characters.
Yeah.
So you find yourself like that play with Charlotte. We would probably have done that in a normal game of Pandemic and not batted an eyelid.
But it wasn't a regular character. That was the character that we've been playing for quite a while now.
It wasn't just the quarantine specialist. Yeah. It was Rita Daniels.
Yeah.
It was our quarantine specialist.
Exactly. So it's not just the player who gets attached to that character as well. It's everyone at the board.
Yeah.
And then I thought that was a cool, an interesting moment. I don't think that's happened to me in a game before. like that sort of horrible utilitarian decision making.
I've had a bit of it seeing like Warhammer campaigns.
Yeah.
Where if you've developed a character, you form an attachment to them. You do sometimes find yourselves being maybe a bit more protective of certain characters than you should be. And that's something that is present within Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah.
And I will say I like Pandemic. I'm aware of its faults, but I am quite interested to explore the Legacy format, because it's not a genre, it's a format.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
Yeah. So and the two I really want to look at next are Seafall and Gloomhaven.
I think Gloomhaven for sure.
Yeah.
Like, if we can find a copy.
Yeah. Or if you want to play with us,
yes,
and you're in the Glasgow area,
give us a shout.
Yeah.
We'll play with you.
Yeah.
We'll play Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, Josh.
Yeah. I know. I'm clarifying.
Okay.
So yeah, we were talking before we started recording. Then you are bothered by people treating Legacy as a genre of board game.
Yeah, because it's not.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate?
Right. So the analogy that I used is, well, we used film as an analogy. And it's a bit like if you say to someone, I'm really interested in cinema, I really like film, and the natural question is, okay, right, what sort of genre? And then if that person goes, French.
That's quite broad.
Yeah, because you get French cartoons, you get French thrillers, you get French comedies. French is not a genre.
Yeah.
The French produce films. But you'll get some stupid shop somewhere where they'll have a French section, but strictly speaking, it's not a genre. And the same is true of legacy games, because you can have a fantasy legacy game, and you can have, like Pandemic, where it's a disaster legacy game.
Yeah, I mean. I know what you're saying though, but
people will refer to it as a genre, but it's not.
Yeah, the thing for me though is that there are certain common mechanics, so I can understand. I agree with what you're saying. I can understand why someone would define it as a genre, but the other one we talked about is kind of like, that's definitely not a thing. Euro games.
Yeah, that's not a genre.
Yeah.
People pick up on this common thread of games of European origin that, generally speaking, like you said, they're not as confrontational as other games.
Yeah. There's no direct.
There is conflict.
Well, yeah, there is conflict.
Every game has to have conflict. That's not necessarily people beating each other up, though. Is conflict. No. It's like a lot of very good writers will tell you at the heart of every story is conflict. But conflict can be internal, can be emotional.
Yeah.
It can be between two nations. It can be between two people in a relationship.
It can be you just needing that one sheep in Catan to build that settlement, and the other guy across has all the sheep in the world, but he won't trade with you.
We are creatures of conflict, which is why we need conflict in our games for them to be interesting.
Right.
Because our emotions conflict, our actions conflict. We thrive upon conflict. But anyway, we're getting into philosophy here.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God, no! Don't open that door. keep that box shut. But no. So as you're saying though, so that's how a lot of people commonly define Euro games. But you think that's too broad?
No, because you can have a Euro game about economics, or you can have a Euro game about medieval warfare. So it's like, how can you have things of such disparate genres all shoehorned into this one thing. And it's like you can have Euro card games, you can have Euro worker placement games. It's too broad to say that is a genre, and it's the same with legacy games. You could have a legacy card game where people just build a deck, and can add stickers to it and things like that. So to say that legacy games all belong to this one genre,
so how
apply.
How do we divvy up the genres of tabletop gaming? That is the big question. Then, do we go by the key mechanic to the game? I say key mechanic specifically because obviously games have lots of different mechanics. So do we say, right, okay, it's a deck building game, or it's...
Well, it's a bit like saying if a film's shot a certain way, they should all belong to this genre.
Okay. So, like, we go, what, deck building game, worker placement, or, I don't know, trading and haggling.
Or do you define them by theme?
Well, because this is what I was going to ask, because I think this might be telling us the different types of gamers we are, because to me, you definitely do not do it by theme at all.
I think you're probably right, because, like, say for instance, you took, the sci-fi as the definition. That then means within that bracket you've got Terraforming Mars and Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, which are very different. I mean, the example I thought of in my head is Arkham Horror and it's Elder Sign.
Yeah.
They're very different. Arkham Horror is a huge game. It takes hours.
It's exactly the same theme.
Yeah. Whereas Elder Sign is just rolling dice.
Yeah.
Very different games.
I think you do define them by genre, and the
key mechanic.
The key mechanics. The problem is, some people are trying to use Euro as a key mechanic. That's too vague. Yeah.
Because, for example, Settlers of Catan, you would say, I would describe that as a trading game, right? With territory control, as well.
And similar to, like, having legacy as a genre, that's too vague.
Yeah.
Because people obviously enjoy this legacy format. Because I would say it's a format as opposed to an actual genre. And I think we're going to see it in more games. I mean, they've already said that they're planning to release Betrayal Legacy.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And I dare say Betrayal's going to be very different to Seafall or Pandemic Legacy.
I really wonder how the Betrayal Legacy is going to work. Is it the same Betrayer then? You set the Betrayer right at the start, and then it's a sort of campaign.
I
have no idea.
But I would definitely say it's going to be far more story driven, because Betrayal at House on the Hill is a fundamentally story driven game.
Yeah.
And people hate and love that game for that very reason. But we actually had a bit of a conversation with one of our listeners, Kevin Ogilvie, because in our last episode we mentioned that legacy games are essentially campaigns with a few extra bells and whistles, but Kevin disagreed with that because he felt that with a campaign, you're just getting new items and things that go on to your next game.
Yeah.
Whereas he felt that legacy games do a bit more than that, which I think is a fair criticism if that's your perspective of a campaign. But we're playing a campaign right now that pretty much plays like a legacy game.
Yeah.
Down to the fact that we are putting stickers on a board.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I think with the wargaming campaigns that you can play, you get out of it what you put into it. It's not just about the gaming side of it I mean, you yourself, you do loads of painting, and you will write little bits of fiction about about your armies.
So I suppose that's maybe one of the, if you are differentiating, that's maybe one of the differences with legacy games, that you have everything you need for that game in there in the box ready to go. Whereas, as you say, with the campaign, more often than not, you get handed a template.
It's a bit more open-ended.
And it's up to the players how much they want to invest into that. But the reason that I brought that up was actually, although he disagreed, was to lend a bit of strength to my argument about legacy being a format as opposed to a genre. You wouldn't say campaign as a genre.
No, that's true. No. Yeah. That's a very good point.
and they at least do have that in common.
Yeah.
In that they are an overarching story with each episode having consequences leading directly into the following.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's rant over.
Rant over, people. That's the rant done.
Yeah.
We can move on now. No, it's interesting though, isn't it? Like the sort of, and I suppose ultimately the conclusion we can come to is slapping genres on things is probably disingenuous anyway, because Monopoly's a trading game, and that's very different from Settlers of Catan or Chinatown. So do we need the labels? I don't know. I
think like you'd said earlier when we were talking about this beforehand, I think that it's useful as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
But I think that's the extent of where it needs to exist.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one of the things that a lot of commentators are saying about board games is that we need to move away from having a linear scoring system, because that is an injustice to the games.
Yeah.
To try and sum a game up in a number.
Yeah.
But why is it these same people still insist upon using very oversimplified genre labels?
Yeah, exactly. So, there we go. There's your food for thought for the weekend.
Yeah.
But on a lighter note, just before we sign off, we're going to Aircon next weekend!
First official Unlucky Frog appearance, isn't it?
In fact, we're actually going to be taking part in Polyhedron Collider's
on the couch,
on the couch session. So we will be on the couch at some point.
Yep.
at a section during that.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that, we're going to be there with camera and microphone in tow.
Yep. We'll be floating about. Loads of things that we're looking forward to. I think the the giant game of Grabble that Bez is running, it will, if not fun taking part, will definitely be something to witness.
It'll be quite an impressive spectacle, if nothing else.
Loads of little tournaments being ran throughout the whole thing.
Just looking forward to. I think one of the things I always enjoy at these sorts of things is meeting the designers.
Yeah.
Seeing what's out there, and also what is going to be out there shortly. That's always quite an exciting experience.
Yeah.
And it's always just great meeting people that you perhaps otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. I always think of them because the Magic the Gathering Grand Prix, which I've been to a couple to, have a similar feel to conventions. And it's kind of like a music festival, but just with nerds. Yeah. And you're indoors, which is even better. You don't have to compete with like a smelly tent.
Yeah. Because you're there with like-minded people. You're all there for the exact same thing. So there's always a great atmosphere at these things.
Yeah.
And I've never been to Harrogate before.
Well, my friend, we're going to go and have a cup of tea.
I've been
Yorkshire tea.
I've been told it's posh Yorkshire, which to me no offence meant to our Yorkshire friends. That seems a bit of a contradiction. I never really thought of Yorkshire people as being posh.
Yeah, Yorkshire can be posh.
Yeah.
Wuthering Heights, that's set in Yorkshire.
Yeah, but that's like Regency.
Could be modern day Yorkshire.
Yeah. That would be brilliant. Someone needs to get on that.
Yeah. Is that our next project?
Yeah. We're going to do a modern day retelling of Wuthering Heights.
With soundtrack by Kate Bush?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's make it so. Make it so.
Maybe we could do a bit of location scouting.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So we'll be location scouting and hopefully chatting to you wonderful people, the listener, as well. So if you see a couple of gents and Charlotte,
we will have our Unlucky Frog t-shirts on,
sporting it with pride.
So we will be instantly identifiable.
Mm-hmm. And just come up and say hello, because that'll be great. So looking forward to it, and hopefully catch up with some of you there. But for now, from Ben and I, have a good night, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay safe.
Hi guys, it's Josh from the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast here. Thanks for listening to us, and now be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for the Unlucky Frog Gaming. You can also show your support for Unlucky Frog through Patreon. Be sure to check out our website, www.unluckyfrog.com, to find out more.
Was that so hard?
Look.